This video forms the basis of all self-development, and it shows how leaders at the highest level can develop outstanding teams. The protagonist is Nick, and you can put yourself in his place, or you can imagine that you are responsible for Nick and his colleagues evolving into an outstanding team. Once you have become familiar with the content of this video, you can develop a team with the following key qualities among the team members. They like change, they have no lasting conflicts, they rarely commit errors due to misunderstandings, participants are so different, as you can imagine, they have very different opinions that they freely express, they rarely accept compromise, but usually find collective solutions. With the ability to develop such teams, you transform businesses to sovereign winners in the areas of work-life quality and profitability. You get people to follow you and support you proactively in most situations. You get unmotivated people who primarily see what they cannot do and do not like to do to want to understand each other and shift their boundaries. All people are controlled by several layers of needs, and the first need must be satisfied before the next manifests itself. You can compare us with onions. If you want to see the inner core, you must remove the layers in the order they appear. The needs are the need to survive, the need for security, the need for confirmations and belonging, the need to understand, and the need for meaning in life. And we cover this with our core of ourselves. When Nick is dominated by the first need, he can act in ways that are potentially lethal. If he is threatened by a killer and cannot escape, the otherwise peaceful Nick begins fighting. It is very dangerous. If Nick is about to starve, he can steal food, although it may be potentially lethal to do it. This applies to all people, regardless of morality, will, and knowledge. After the anxiety is gone, the next level of need applies. We can say that Nick discovers the next layer in the onion, and he will achieve more in life. Here, Nick acts selfishly and without the need for others' confirmation. The dominant need is the need for security. As an example, Nick abuses his power as a leader when he forces an employee to do things they do not want to do. He indicates when needed his rationale for this, while the true reason is that he is afraid of not fulfilling the requirements imposed on him. Nick does not feel secure in his position if his employees do not do what he says. What the other employees think about Nick's behavior might haunt him, but it does not affect his action. It does not happen until after Nick feels safe. Then Nick thinks that he really can achieve more in life, and it pays off to pay attention to the opinions of others. Now Nick is confident enough that the need for confirmations and belonging manifests itself. He is now dominated by the need to be accepted in every management team and among the employees. The fact that he wants to be accepted everywhere makes it important that he has earned the opportunity to change their testimony after the wind, and therefore he cannot be concerned with the relationships between cause and effect. Subconscious Nick, therefore, sends no questions about such correlations into the consciousness of Nick. It helps little that others tell Nick that he has acquired enemies when he constantly turns the cloak after the wind. Those statements are rejected with remarks like, people who don't adapt to changing circumstances in life are inflexible, lack willingness to learn, or are blind to the ambient needs. The crucial part for Nick is that other people say yes to what Nick says, does, and is. First, when Nick has adapted to every conceivable situation and felt accepted by all, he thought about achieving more in life. After Nick feels completely safe with his group affiliation, a sincere desire to understand the relationships in life come to light. Nick is now dominated by the desire to learn the connections between cause and effect. This is so demanding that he cannot allow himself to think about whether what he does has a deeper meaning or not. Nick believes that people who talk about deeper or overriding effects are denoted as remote dreamers. They are people who do not take responsibility for the daily operation, and they have not understood that the goal is the journey. Because Nick is still fresh at this level where he is dominated by the need to understand, he uses a long time to understand the situation he is a part in. His decisions are coming slowly, or sometimes not at all. He is burdened by the responsibility, and it stresses him in his surroundings. It is almost so stressful that he falls back to the level where the need for security dominated, and he was able to make quick decisions and was uninfluenced by chit-chat. Because of his great level of knowledge, he excelled at this level. After Nick has understood the most important aspects in his life, he feels the need to find a deeper and overall meaning of what he does. He wants to achieve more in life. In the beginning, when he operates on his level, he is again frustrated. It takes time before he is aware of why and how he is able to achieve things he earlier in life only dreamed about. Several questions and objections pop up that he needs to take into consideration on this level. It is a demanding process. After Nick discovers what he will spend the rest of his life doing, he makes a jump in his personal development. He becomes calmer, accumulates knowledge, and develops networks in a way that is much more systematic and effective than he did when he was dominated by the need to understand. Doing something with deeper meaning gives him a feeling of strength. Nick has now come so close to being unstoppable as people come. You can experience more about this under Maslow Gold videos. To make it easier for you to see the enormous practical significance and the needs hierarchy has to develop teams and all types of change processes, we divide the needs in a yellow and red part with little fluid transition. Those whose own development is located in the red zone are characterized as having their own attention inward. They strive to meet their own needs before they cover the needs of others. Those located in the yellow field have their own attention outward. They strive to meet the needs of others before they cover their own needs. If Nick is located in the red area of the hierarchy, he rarely or never contributes to a win-win situation. His subconscious focuses on his own needs, and he does not respond when opportunities arise to meet the needs of others. As long as Nick is located in this field, he has I goals, and he then contributes to win-lose situations and often says yes, but. When you are in the yellow area, it is the opposite. Here, the subconscious mind immediately sends impulses into the consciousness as soon as opportunities arise to meet the needs of others. When Nick is at this level, he generates we goals and effectively contributes to a win-win situation and often says yes and. The clearest indicator of whether Nick is located in the red or yellow field will show now. When Nick is in the yellow field, he tries to understand others before he expects to be understood. When he is in the red field, the situation is reversed. When the business Nick is working and wants to recognize goals that can only be recognized through learning and developing new capabilities or skills, it is important to compose the most heterogeneous teams, i.e., consulting of people with the most diverse backgrounds, experience, and opinions. Heterogeneous teams only work when participants try to understand each other's members before they try to understand themselves. Therefore, it is a crucial success factor for super teams that all members are located in the yellow field. When Business Nick realizes that goals do not require learning and developing new capabilities, it is not essential that Nick and his colleagues listen to and understand people who think differently and have different experiences. For this work, homogeneous teams can be used, i.e., teams consisting of people with similar backgrounds, experience, knowledge, and beliefs. The similarities they represent make it possible for them to manage to agree despite that they are trying to be understood before they try to understand. The easiest and fastest confirmation that Nick is located in the red or yellow field can be obtained by filing a claim that is not likely to be accepted by Nick and is in an area where Nick is not well informed, despite that this is an important area for him. If Nick is in the yellow field, he asks you to elaborate on the statement before he eventually emerges with what he is convinced about. If he is in the red field, he starts to explain why he disagrees. If Nick is in a red field but placed on a yellow team, because of his networks, wealth, or other status, he will really enjoy himself, being the yolk of the egg. His desire to be understood is perfectly suited to the team's willingness and ability to understand, but it is likely that Nick paralyzes the team and that it dissolves unless Nick withdraws or is withdrawn from the team. This particularly applies if Nick is strong-willed and is so low in the red field that he has clear fight or flight reactions. Conversely, it also works badly if you have one yellow member in a red team, and that person asks questions as a result of having the attention directed outward, towards the needs of the customers and the surroundings. The team members are not used to answering those kinds of questions. Therefore, those kinds of questions will be perceived as frustrating, demanding, and often scary. So scary sometimes that the subconscious mind of the red person begins to produce impulses of the conscious mind that would be considered criminal or at least immoral. This happens without the red even noticing it, because they have their attention directed inward. In other words, it is essential that teams are not formed on the basis of position, who likes whom, prestige, celebrity factor, etc., but on the basis of where they are in the hierarchy of need. This is thoroughly emphasized in the factor time. In the bottom of the hierarchy of needs, the subconscious work in a time horizon of only seconds, minutes, or days. And the top of the pyramid of time horizon is usually the rest of your life. Since the subconscious is identical with our creativity, this means that long-term ideas rarely occur in the red zone, and they are never translated into practical action. The time horizon for practical action and the distinction between red and yellow is about 3 years. In our time, long time horizons associated with environmental issues are often a natural theme. Those located in the red area often speak in long time horizons. They do it because it gives them the affirmation and sense of belonging in a good company, not because they intend to act accordingly. When they talk, the content is characterized as though it does not contain verifiable data, i.e., it's non-binding and thus non-associated with risk. Statistically, companies use 5 to 10 years to make the leap from being completely unknown to reaching a tipping point and becoming the market leader. Teams that have the intention of creating a market leader must plan and act at a time horizon of at least 5 years. When Nick is in the red zone, Nick's team needs fast confirmation on their own skills, preferably in the current year. For that reason, the team has no time to create favorable circumstances and success. The team does not reflect if the success is a permanent nature. When Nick is in the yellow field, his team exploits each other's differences to create favorable circumstances for lasting and preferably unlimited success. This understanding of the need of diversities ensures that the team also manages to achieve the best results short term. Lasting success only occurs when success is desired by the community, i.e., people outside the organization, perhaps even in a global perspective. Acceptance of such a large scale can usually only be achieved on a long time horizon, when it exists in a heterogeneous team with the attention directed outward. The main characteristic of a tipping point team, or a super team, is that all participants are located in the yellow field. In the articles of silver and gold members, you can see how the time horizon and the concretization degree separates, for example, red and yellow annual reports and senior managers apart. Breakthrough in business development is achieved when key individuals move from the red to the yellow field. The best teams are at the top of the yellow area. There you will find team members who combine life goals with world views and build business success in this perspective. In other videos and articles under gold members, you can read about how the utilization of brain capacity begins to rise dramatically when people work on a time horizon longer than 5 years.